You're about to walk into a party and your heart starts racing. You imagine everyone noticing how awkward you are, judging every word that comes out of your mouth. So you either don't go at all, or you spend the whole time trapped in your head, analyzing everything you say. If this sounds familiar, here's what nobody tells you. Social anxiety isn't about lacking confidence or being broken. It's about 5 specific beliefs running in the background of your mind like invisible software. And the crazy part? Most of these beliefs are completely wrong, but your brain treats them like facts. In this video, I'm breaking down the exact belief system that creates social anxiety, why it feels so real, and most importantly, the specific experiments you can run to prove these beliefs wrong. Because here's the thing, you can understand social anxiety intellectually all day long, but that won't fix it. You have to experience your way out. So let's dive in. The domino effect. Think about dominoes. You knock over the first one, and each domino triggers the next in a perfect chain reaction until they've all fallen. Your social anxiety works exactly the same way. You enter a social situation, and it knocks over belief number 1, which automatically triggers belief 2, then 3, 4, 5, and suddenly you're in full panic mode, wondering why you even left the house. But here's the good news that changes everything. You don't need to stop all 5 dominoes from falling. Stop even one, and the whole chain breaks. The anxiety doesn't happen. Most people try to fight social anxiety by forcing themselves into uncomfortable situations. They white-knuckle through parties, push themselves to talk to strangers, and hope eventually they'll feel better. But if these 5 beliefs are still running in the background, you're just enduring the discomfort without actually fixing the problem. Domino number 1. Something's wrong with me. This first domino, the one that starts the whole chain, is this deep belief that you have problems, that if people really see the real you, they'll discover you're not good enough and they won't want you around. And before you think you're the only person who feels this way, research shows that 20 to 30% of people actively worry about being judged for their perceived flaws. You're not alone in this, even though it feels incredibly isolating. These flaws tend to fall into 3 categories. First, social skill concerns. You think you're boring, weird, don't know what to say, or come across as awkward or not smart enough. The irony here is that while you're worried you're boring, the person you're talking to is probably worried that they're boring. Second, appearance concerns. This is usually facial features, weight, hair, skin issues, anything visible that you see in the mirror every day and fixate on. Third, visible anxiety symptoms like blushing, stuttering, trembling, sweating, or your voice shaking. This is the meta-anxiety, being anxious about looking anxious, which creates this terrible feedback loop. Here's what research actually shows. Everyone has insecurities. The difference between someone with social anxiety and someone without it isn't the presence of flaws. It's whether you believe those insecurities disqualify you from connection. And here's something that might surprise you. Perfect people aren't actually appealing to others. Authentic people are. Studies show that when people reveal vulnerabilities, they're rated as more likable than people who only show their strengths. Not because people love flaws, but because they love genuineness. Your imperfections might actually be what makes you relatable and human. So try this experiment. Write down what you think is wrong with you, the things you're most insecure about. Then ask yourself honestly, would I reject someone else for having these same qualities? You probably wouldn't, right? We judge ourselves by standards we would never apply to another human being. Domino number 2. People will notice. So you believe something's wrong with you, and that knocks over the second domino, which is the belief that people will notice this flaw. We feel like there's a literal spotlight shining on us, like everyone in the room is watching and analyzing our every move. This is called the spotlight effect, and research shows we overestimate how noticeable things are by 2 times. Whatever you think is obvious about you is probably half as noticeable as you imagine. Here's why this happens. There is so much information happening in any social situation. People are thinking about what they're going to say next, worrying about how they're coming across, mentally checking their phones, wondering if they have something in their teeth. You notice your anxiety and your flaws because they matter intensely to you. Other people don't notice because those things don't matter to them. They're worried about their stuff. There's also something called the illusion of transparency, which is this belief that your internal state is obvious to everyone around you. When you feel nervous, you assume everyone can tell. But here's what actually happens in real life. People often can't tell the difference between you being nervous and you being thoughtful, focused, or just naturally quiet. Here's an experiment you can try. Next time you're in a group setting, pay attention to how much you're actually noticing other people's flaws and awkward moments. You'll realize you're mostly in your own head, barely registering their imperfections. If you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to see if you want to see more videos like this. Okay, maybe people do notice something about you. The third domino is believing that when they notice, they'll think it's terrible and judge you harshly. But what if they notice and genuinely don't care? What if they actually find it endearing or relatable? Here's something fascinating that most people with social anxiety don't realize. For almost every trait you think is a flaw, there's a group of people who think that's actually a good thing. You think you talk too much? Some people love chatty, energetic personalities and find quiet people boring. You think you're too quiet? Some people find that calming and thoughtful and prefer it to loudness. What you see as a weakness, someone else might genuinely see as a strength. There's research where people were asked to reveal either their strengths and accomplishments or their vulnerabilities and insecurities to strangers. The ones who revealed vulnerabilities were rated as more likable, not because people love flaws, but because they love realness. Being genuine matters more than being perfect. So why do we get this so wrong? We can't actually read minds, so instead we project our own harsh self-judgment onto other people. Maybe when you were young, someone was harsh about one of your traits. A parent, a bully, a teacher. That one experience created a template in your mind that says, this thing about me is unacceptable. But that one person doesn't represent everyone. In real life, most people are more accepting and kind than you imagine. Not everyone, there are definitely harsh people out there, but most people are pretty decent, and the ones who are harshly judgmental are usually dealing with their own massive insecurities. Try this experiment. Think of someone you really respect and admire. Now, list their flaws, because they definitely have them. Do those flaws cancel out everything good about them? Of course not. That's exactly how people see you, too, as a whole complex person, not just a walking collection of flaws. So they notice your flaw, and they judge it negatively. The fourth domino is believing this will lead to rejection or losing your social status. This is where social anxiety gets really painful, because rejection touches our core human need for belonging. We think, if I have this one flaw, I have zero chance with anyone. But that's not how human connection actually works. People don't process you as a binary acceptable or unacceptable. They see you as a complex whole person with strengths and weaknesses, just like everyone else. Instead of thinking, I have this one problem, so I'm doomed, focus on building up all your other qualities. When you develop your sense of humor, your kindness, your interests, your skills, that one insecurity becomes a tiny piece of a much bigger picture. It's like obsessing over one slightly burnt cookie in a batch of 20 delicious ones. Nobody cares about that one cookie. Even if someone does think you have a flaw, they might still want to be around you because of everything else you bring to the table. Relationships aren't built on perfection. They're built on genuine connection, shared interests, and mutual enjoyment of each other's company. Here's a reframe that helps a lot of people. What if rejection isn't about your worth, but about compatibility? If someone rejects you for being your authentic self, they're actually doing you a favor. They're showing you they're not a good match for you. The right people for you will appreciate you, flaws included, because your quirks and imperfections are part of what makes you, you. This comes up most intensely in dating and romance, but the principle applies everywhere. You don't need everyone to like you. The fifth and final domino is this belief that if rejection does happen, you won't be able to tolerate it, that it will absolutely destroy you and you'll never recover. Here's the paradox. People who avoid rejection the most are the ones most terrified of it. People who experience rejection regularly, they get used to it. It loses its power over them. We imagine rejection like it happens in movies, dramatic and public and humiliating. But in real life, most people are incredibly kind when they reject you. They go out of their way to be gentle and to save face for you so you don't feel terrible. Yes, there are exceptions. Some people are rude, but they stand out precisely because it's so rare. I did an experiment once where I intentionally got rejected every single day. I would approach someone I found attractive and ask them out, fully expecting them to say no. What I learned changed everything. Rejection is uncomfortable, but it's not devastating. Most people were so nice about it that it barely stung. The buildup in my head was way worse than the actual experience of being told no. You don't have to like rejection. It should feel a bit bad, that's normal and human, but you can learn to tolerate it. You can learn to see it as data, as information about compatibility, not as a final verdict on your worth as a person. Every no you get brings you closer to a yes, because you're building the skill and confidence of putting yourself out there. What helped me most was having a mission bigger than my comfort. If you care deeply about something, a goal, a cause, a connection you want to build, you become willing to tolerate rejection in service of that bigger thing. Start small with rejection tolerance. Ask for something minor that might get rejected. Extra sauce at a restaurant, a small favor from a coworker. Notice how rejection feels in these low-stakes situations. Build your tolerance gradually, then work up to bigger risks as you realize that rejection is survivable and often not even that bad. Sometimes anxiety symptoms can feel like more than you could bear. If you want to see 5 anxiety symptoms that you might have and how to deal with them, make sure to watch this video next. I'm sure it's going to help you a lot.